Hey everyone, I hope everyone's having a pretty good Friday today, and we'll have a good weekend with Mother's Day coming up. And sorry I haven't posted a video in a while. I've been pretty busy this week, you know, doing treatment and whatnot, and focusing on my recovery. And things have been going really well. I'm very thankful for for everything that's kind of been happening in the past few weeks. Really enjoying writing in my blog. Again, mostly as a journal, but it is cool to see uh, some feedback, or at least like on some YouTube videos and online where I post in the forums, and whatnot. So it's really encouraging. I'm really glad I decided to do that and the videos, because it gives me a great way to journal, and track my progress, especially visually. That's one of my goals, is to get in much better shape. Um, so that way I can look back and be like, oh wow, yes, that I've come a long way. I feel like I've already come a long way already, but I know that there's a lot more work to be done, and addiction and mental illness is not something that you cure. As much as I wish that was the case, it's something that needs to be treated and worked on continuously. So, and also, the reason why I like the blogs and the videos is it holds me accountable to do that journaling. I've tried to journal in the past, and writing in a book, I do it for a day or two and then stop. So I'm really glad to be making these videos. I just want to do two things in this video: a recovery recap of my week, and I want to talk a little bit about my experience going to jail. I think I've mentioned it, but I'll get to that in a second. My recovery's going really well. Today's 38 days clean from all substances. I'm excited to be reaching the 6-week mark, because that will, past that will be the only time I can think of that I've been that sober since like 2021. Not the year, I mean 20 years old to 21 years old. So over a decade. Unfortunately, I've been struggling with this. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really grateful to be in this house, this sober living house. The housemates are super awesome. We tend to help each other out and support each other. Like for example, when I had first moved in here, one roommate offered to invited me to an AA meeting that him and another housemate went to. And I took him up on his offer, and I'm extremely glad. It was a really great group. It is a great group. I've been going frequently, and I went last night. So yeah, that's been going really good. Especially the house, like I said, we're just getting along and support each other. My treatment is going extremely well. Our intensive outpatient group was moved to in-person, or changed to in-person, and that started on Monday. And my treatment, since I'm in IOP, is Monday through Thursday for about 2.25 hours. But it's been really nice, a lot more beneficial than doing it via Zoom. As most things are, especially like the recovery meetings. Just that energy and body language that you really don't get on Zoom. And I've also really appreciated that, because it's been giving me a more of a structured schedule, but also kind of getting back used to, having an alarm, waking up, getting ready, going out, which it honestly sounds pathetic. It kind of is pathetic, it's been over 2 years since I've worked, and I don't think that's something I would struggle with, like if I were to start working, let's say just tomorrow, but it's been a while, so it's nice to get some practice. So I don't know. I guess it's not pathetic. I have mixed feelings about that. I just have this immense guilt that I'm not self-sufficient, and I'm 33 years old. But again, I need to reframe that and just be thankful for my 38 days clean, being in a great place, having great treatment. So treatment's going well. And then what's nice too is, after that, since we're in person, I can now go to a local recovery cafe. Before I wasn't able to, or at least made an excuse not to, because when I was doing IOP on Zoom, when we were finished at 11:30, it's like a 35-minute bus ride over to the cafe from this house. And so that would mean I would get there late. I'd still get there with time to have lunch, but it would be towards the end. So I could have, but I kind of used that as an excuse. But being in person, the treatment where I get the treatment is about like a 10-minute, 15-minute walk. And I mean, if there's a bus I can walk to and take down there, so I could even expedite that. But I've been enjoying walking, throwing some music in, walking there, getting a little exercise in, and then going to the cafe. Tuesday was the first time I've been down there. I didn't go Monday because they're closed on Monday. And it was really awesome. I was really anxious to go in person. I guess I've been with the support circle a few times, but I've done that via Zoom a few times too. But, you know, just being there, like the first time I went there, I was extremely anxious. And, you know, had all this love and support from the members there, you know, ask you, hey, you know, good to see you, instead of like, where have you been? Well, I mean, they ask you, you know, like kind of what happened, and I explained to them. But yeah, even like Mondays, kind of anxious going in, and again, you know, everyone's just super friendly and supportive, and I saw a few other people there that are really cool. I've you know, talked with them before, and you know, even been to like a social events with them, recovery social events, and you know, kickball and volleyball, which of course were tremendously fun. That was last year, of course. So yeah, so that's been going well. I went 3 times in a row. I went Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which is great because it's just, well, first of all, it's a free lunch. I hate to be so blunt about it, but it's a free lunch. It's super delicious. Probably 'cause also I'm hungry after intensive outpatient. But it's just a really safe, supportive environment. That's the thing I appreciate the most, is just being surrounded or having other people in recovery, that, you know, can provide support and healing, and hopefully I can do the same for others. And what I like about the cafe too is it's recovery in general. I mean, so it could be any recovery that, you know, as you define it, and live it. So for me personally, you know, I'm in recovery from substance abuse, alcohol, and mental illness. Whereas, you know, someone might be there in recovery from PTSD or recovery from abuse. So it's really cool because it's like all inclusive for people in recovery. Of course, you know, you need that desire to quit or get help or whatever, and, you know, not come in intoxicated. So yeah, that's super awesome. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else. I've been trying to work with a few, Goodwill. They have an employment program apparently, so I'm trying to work with them. I'm also planning on going to a temp agency that's relatively close by on Monday. I was going to go yesterday, but unfortunately they're closed over the weekend. But yeah, I'm working out. I mean, I've been physically active at least daily. You know, some days weightlifting and then bike riding, but some form of exercise, and it's really had a tremendous impact on my mental health and just feeling more healthy. So I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, so that's kind of my recovery this week. You know, just doing everything I need to do. I'm really putting in the work, and have a totally different attitude than I have had. I shouldn't say totally different, you know, but I'm definitely a lot more motivated, and that kind of segues into the jail and being on probation, because, you know, at this point I can't afford to mess up. If I mess up, it's likely that I will lose this house. Fortunately, it's not quite the same as an Oxford house where if you have a relapse, you have 15 minutes to gather your stuff and then out the door. Of course, you can come back later, I think probably sober, and get the rest of your stuff, but within like 30 days. but yeah, so here, of course it's treated similar, but they do give you 72 hours, and in that time, if you can come up with kind of an action plan and be like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go this many meetings, or I'm going to get a sponsor. If you can come up with a good plan, then yes, they'll let you stay. But either way, I really don't want to risk that. And being on probation, if I were to relapse or have any positive UAs and whatnot, I would. I don't know how they handle it. It's certainly different than mental health court, but I would assume that it would involve jail time at some point. Maybe I can't quite say, but I don't want to find out. I'll say that. And yeah, that's why jail. It wasn't a great experience, but I think it was a necessary experience for me. I know for a lot of people, that sort of, it's punitive and it doesn't rehabilitate anyone. If anything, it might predispose them to more like knowledge about how to commit criminal acts, because there's certainly a lot of talk between the inmates about their criminal activities and what they've done and what's worked. So in a way, it's kind of like a school for criminology, except not the criminology on the side that's trying to work with criminals. So yeah, learning techniques, and then of course also depending on the jail time and whatnot. When they're finally released, they might not have their home or apartment. I know there's someone in there that was he did lose. He was in danger of losing his storage unit because time had elapsed while he was in there, and he said that he was most likely going to lose his stuff. So, when you get out, you're not really equipped to, get back into the real world. And I can't say this for everyone. Hopefully this is not the case for me, but for a lot of people, that means that they have to, commit crimes to live. Especially because, they're coming out and they might not have their home or anywhere to go. And also, having a record, a criminal record, I can attest to with, I think it's both the reckless driving and resisting arrest, screws you over. It really screws you over. And those are misdemeanors. I couldn't imagine having felonies, especially like felony assault or theft. So yeah, no one's going to hire them. And then, so it's like, yeah, what do you do? So I'm not condoning that, but I'm just kind of stating, what I can't say for sure whether or not that's like completely accurate or happens to everyone or most everyone, but I've heard stories. That's kind of how things go. So anyways, yeah. So I don't know if I've mentioned the specific time, but I ended up spending 19 days in jail. It was supposed to be 25 consecutive days for the 3 charges that I picked up. But fortunately, they gave me the judge, super awesome judge, and I really miss mental health court because all of them were amazing. So supportive. My PO officer, the coordinator, just everyone was fantastic. So I really am sad that I ruined that opportunity, but it was definitely the right act. They took the right action. I just could not stay sober and fulfill the requirements. So anyway, so yes, 25 days, but they gave me credit for 2 days served, because, I spent 24 hours for DUI and then, 24 hours as a sanction for, relapsing and losing my Oxford house. So it was 23 days, but then, they do, something in jail. It's good time. And this county jail that I went to, it's 15%. So it ended up working its way to be 4 days off of my sentence. And so I was able to get out after 19 days. So I'm thankful for that. That was pretty nice. But yeah, so my experience, fortunately, I requested and they graciously allowed me to have a few days to get things together to transition into the sober living. um, and then turn myself in. But of course, unfortunately, I spent that time just getting drunk and trying to absorb as much fun and comfort as I could. Before jail, because having been there twice for 24 hours, I got a good feel of how it is and how it probably would be, for extended periods of time. So yeah, I kind of just messed around. Fortunately, I was still able to, after jail, move my stuff. I had a few people from my IOP group that have since graduated help me out, so I'm so thankful for them as well. But I was able to move in, so fortunately that didn't screw things up. But yeah, so I spent the time drunk. I turned myself in on Saturday. I was a few hours late than the time that was on the paperwork and what I said. Additionally, I had been drinking that morning, and I wouldn't say I was completely drunk, but definitely like a decent buzz. But I'm really fortunate too. And I want to make a side note. I've been so blessed through all this, and it might not seem like that on the surface, having lost so much, and also having temporarily lost, my ability to walk and use my hands and arms, like a poor grip strength. But I'm extremely blessed and fortunate, and I thank God every day. I'm just so lucky. So when I went in, I don't like officers or COs, I think they were called, were super friendly in getting me booked in. I don't think they even handcuffed me. For the 24 hours, they handcuffed me and then brought me in, but I don't think I was handcuffed. Of course, I was turning myself in and was cooperative and calm, so that probably helps. But so I turned myself in. They booked me. Were super friendly, which a lot of the guards are. There's the notion that they're all dicks, part of my language, but that's definitely not the case. There are some that probably have stereotypes or preconceived notions from having worked so long and are kind of jaded. They weren't the friendliest, but there's a lot of officers that were friendly, and I'm really thankful for that as well. So anyways, they booked me. Fortunately, didn't say anything about me being a few hours late. Additionally, did not have any mention of me being intoxicated, which is great because I'm sure that would probably screw things up and end up with more jail time. So yeah, so I was in Holden, the Holden room or cell, whatever, for a few hours. It's really tough. One of the things I didn't like about jail was, there's really no clocks. I'll get to it in a little bit, but, there's only one source of time. Well, I guess two sources of time, in the dormitory, the cell that we had. So I don't like that because, and especially there's no windows. It's just lights on pretty much all the time. You really lose track of time. So, it might feel like a few hours have gone by, but you look at one of the clocks, it's been like 10 minutes. I know that's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, that's one thing I really disliked. So I can't quite say for sure, but I think I was in there for a few hours. They did bring me, I think, lunch, which of course, they can't just starve me, but, and that's another thing too, the food, but I'll get to that. But yeah, so brought me food, and then, unfortunately, one of the other officers, cause they ask you a bunch of questions, and they had asked me, have I had, any suicide attempts or ideation, in the past 3 years? And of course, yes, I have. So the initial officers were like, okay, can you essentially contract for safety? Are you going to be safe? And, I told them yes, because I had kind of accepted the jail sentence, so I wasn't, suicidal or wanting to die. So they were like cool with that. But then another officer, apparently they come every hour or two, to the Holden cell, and they ask a few questions. One of those being the suicide within the past 3 years, and I should have just said no to both, but I'm trying to practice honesty, so I said yes, and so their protocol dictates that they have to put you on suicide watch. So that was crap. That was total crap. I guess it was nice in a way to start off like that because it made you appreciate not being on suicide watch that much more. Pretty much they have a designated area. It's a very small cell that you're confined to for 23 hours in the day. You get 1 hour out in the kind of like a slightly bigger room where you can shower, make a call, and that's pretty much it, honestly. Just walk around, have a little more freedom. So I was walked down there, and of course, like suicide, I mean, I've worked on psych units. They're stripped down. I was stripped down to everything. Not even underwear. And then they gave me kind of like this, I've heard it colloquially called a turtle suit, and it makes sense. Essentially kind of like this big smock with Velcro. And that's the only thing you get. You get sandals too, fortunately. So it's not you're on bare feet, but, wait, did they? Oh no, actually they didn't. No, because we had to leave them at the door. I thought that because when I went to see the nurse, I got them back so I could walk. But yeah, no, and not even sandals in the cell, because it could possibly be a safety hazard. I mean, I don't really see how, but I mean, that's how suicide watch goes. Yeah, with the turtle suit, very uncomfortable. And then they gave me another one as a blanket, essentially. The whole point of those is they're so tough to where you can't, take a sheet and, tie it to a ligature point and then hang yourself, or, maybe even just put it around your neck and tie it off and cut circulation to the brain. So yeah, I was, and because I turned myself on Saturday, the person that is responsible for kind of assessing the inmates for safety worked Monday through Friday. So I was stuck there for, those 2 days. Fortunately, I was seen pretty quickly in the morning, and I was able to be finally moved to one of the dormitories or the pods. I still don't quite know the terms, but it was a big cell that had multiple men in there. With bunk beds up top. Of course, there's one bathroom, and it's not even like a door or anything like that. I mean, it's just pretty much out in the open. So, bathroom that had the shower and toilet and a sink. And then there were these. There's a kiosk that was on the wall where you can do things like video chat or message friends and family. You can submit a request, oh, hey, I need this medication, or hey, I want to change my diet. They were good on some of the requests I put in terms of getting back to me, or being able to help me. But there's also a few where it's just like either took a long time, or it just was like a really poor response. And I don't say that to speak negatively on them. I'm sure that they're quite busy and underfunded and just don't have the time, but still sucks though. So yeah, they have that kiosk, and they also have like two tablets, which are like breakable proof, or at least for the most part, kind of like have a case. And on those, you can pretty much do the same thing. And you can also watch movies or videos. The thing is, though, is that you are charged a certain amount per minute. So you can get money put on your account, whether, you come in with money or have, a friend or family put money on your account. You're given one, I think it's 3 or 5 minute phone call to each number. Like, so, if I were to call my mom, I would be able to speak with her for 3 to 5 minutes. And then, of course, the call is ended. so you get that free call. But I can make another one, let's say to my dad, who has a different cell phone number, and same thing, 3 to 5 minutes, and then you're done. So, but yeah, you just get one of those. That's it. So, you know, so I didn't get any money put on my account, because I really did not want my parents to, you know, spend any more money on me than they have. I'm so grateful again for their support financially, emotionally. I've put them through hell and they've, you know, given me heaven. So, I asked them to not put any money on my account before I went in. And of course I didn't bring in any cash. I didn't really have any cash because I had spent it all on beer. Yeah, so I went without the ability to contact people on the outside at least regularly, which is fine with me. But the part that was more difficult was, because I didn't have money, I couldn't afford commissary. And for those that are unfamiliar, commissary is kind of like essentially a store in jails and prisons. I'm sure it works differently in different facilities, but at this county jail, you would order on Sunday via the kiosk, and order what you want, and you know certain things cost, you know, X amount of money, and then on Wednesday, they bring you what you ordered, and ramen is a very common one. And it's used as kind of currency. You know, I've seen that in documentaries. But yeah, it's interesting. So it's like, and there's a lot of trades. So it's like, hey man, I'll give you a ramen noodle today, and for you know, peanut butter, or for something tomorrow. So yeah, so that kind of sucked because, you know, you only get 3 meals in jail. Breakfast is a sack lunch. It's just pretty much cereal, banana, and like an egg, and a muffin too. That was the total amount. And then you get 2 hot lunches, or 2 hot meals, lunch and dinner. On one of the days, it was a cold lunch. I think it's said because of staffing. And then that's it. The dinner was served at 5 o'clock. And sometimes it'd be late, 5:36. And that's it. You have no access to, they don't serve any more meals, or, you know, no snacks or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure they would laugh in your face if you're like, ask for a snack, or another meal. But yeah, so you go from 5 p.m. to, let's see, wake up was like around 6:30, where they would turn the lights on, and then pass out the, or at least have the breakfast, and you know, we line up and get it through just a tiny little slot, on you know, the wall or whatever, you know, by the door. So yeah, I mean, that's a long time to go. I mean, I like food, I like eating, and sometimes, well, I was eating in excess, you know, before I went in, because, you know, I was drunk. That increased my appetite. But yeah, so I was not used to just 3 meals a day, and especially the amount of food that was given at each meal, and the quality of food given at each meal. Both of those, for the most part, pretty abysmal. There was a few lunches, like chicken patties, and like there's a hot dog one, that were actually pretty decent. But otherwise, it was just not really great food. And once a week, they would serve something that was just an amalgamation of all the leftover ingredients they had for that week, and usually that was horrible. So that being said, I was able to, I saw people were getting different meals. A few of the inmates were getting different meals. And I asked one of them, I'm like, what's going on with that? And, you know, they said, oh, it's a kosher diet. And it came with, like a hot meal that was soy. I'm not a big fan of soy, but, you know, what I liked the most was it had, more food, especially more food that you can preserve, like, packets of peanut butter, crackers and graham crackers, and also craisins. Those were a hot item too. But Yeah, so yeah, not much food. So I ordered the kosher diet, and fortunately, I was switched pretty much within 24 hours. Whereas other people that put in the request, I think by the time I left, they still hadn't. It had been like over a week, and they still weren't switched. So I, again, very fortunate. So yeah, so that's kind of with the food and the commissary. But yeah, so it was actually a better experience than I would thought it was. I thought I was gonna possibly be picked on or uh targeted because I'm more of a clean cut. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's kind of judgmental. I'm soft. I'm very nice. And I'm not saying other inmates in there weren't nice, but I've always been kind of I'll admit kind of more submissive, passive. I'm working on that as well and being assertive, but it's still noticeable because, I've worked as a nurse. I have that kind of caregiver vibe. And, like with my voice and stuff, I'm not, and just overall, like I don't really grow a beard. So I'm not like super manly and like super tough. And also they can just tell like, who the newbies are. But yeah, no, it went really well. I was accepted relatively quickly by quite a bit of them. I didn't interact so much with many, but we had fortunately I had some good bunk mates that were below and also on the other bunk bed. So we kind of stuck together and ate together. That's another thing too. I know I'm rambling, but they do something called a spread. So they take one of the lids on the bins that we get, and everyone will chip in their meal, and then they'll make like 3 or 4 things of ramen with the hot water from the sink. Toss that in there, and then toss whatever else. And essentially make a meal. It was interesting. It's kind of like jail cooking. And some of them were actually pretty good. I was especially impressed by the birthday cake they made for one of the inmates. I forgot what it was, but I think it was the smushed muffins, peanut butter, craisins, and something else. A few other things, I think, but it was really delicious. It was, they offered some, even though I didn't pitch in. That was super awesome. But yeah, so got along pretty smoothly with them. One of the guys that were kind of in our circle was like talking to me, a few weeks in about how he thought I was narc because I'm so soft. And he's like my voice, and it's like I joked around, like that he was making fun of me. But I don't really mind too much. So let's see, where was I going with that? Oh man, the spreads. So yeah, so we did a few spreads. I got to try some of that as well. It was interesting. It's if you're there for a long time, it's a good way to kind of spice up the meals and something to do. So so that was really cool. There was a few tap outs in the dormitory. So what would happen is someone would come in, whether it was immediately or a few days in or even a few weeks in, and if they had some behaviors or didn't get along well with the inmates, or even if they did really nothing but the inmates were like, screw this person, they would fight. And I guess it was kind of in a few of the situations, because like I said, a few guys tapped out. They would give them the chance to tap out, like, so, press the button to call the guard and be like, hey, I need to go, like, leave. They were given that option or to fight. But some of them also, it was just a fight. It was a fight and, kind of bullying until they tapped out themselves. Of course, no offer was given, but, it was not a good environment for that person. Definitely not safe. So they tapped out. So fortunately though, yeah, I got along with everyone. Kind of told them my experiences, that they told me their experiences. Just it was, yeah, very interesting. I think that kind of encapsulates most of what I wanted to talk about. I might make another video if anything comes to mind, but I kind of wanted to just talk about how it was. I guess also what I'll say too is it's very cold and uncomfortable. I mean, there's nothing like super soft beds. We got a mattress, but it wasn't super big. I mean, it was enough to where we would wrap up. Uh, so I mentioned it. They give you a bin, and then there's a spare blanket, a spoon, a cup, and then a towel. And then so that they put the lid on, and then well, roll out would be, or I think it was roll out or something like that. Would be, you're being released. They buzz and say, blah blah blah. And it's like, so that's gonna bug me. I don't think it's roll out. I forgot. But yeah, so you gather up your stuff and you go out, and going in you do pretty much the same. You get a mattress, you grab a mattress from a stack. Best way to kind of carry it it's like you put your bin in the middle of it and just kind of fold it up and carry it. My roommate is singing or something. So yeah, so it's a very thin mattress. I mean, enough to where you can do that and easily carry it, which makes sense. I mean, jail is not supposed to be a fun experience or, a good experience. That's kind of the whole point. I really disagree with kind of a lot of it, how it's run, especially the legal system. I respect it, the laws are there for a reason, and, everyone should follow them. They should not be exempt or above the law. But the way it's handled, I think, could be a little bit better. But at the same time, I mean, for me, with the mental health court, which is kind of an alternative to jail, and, has people get treatment for their mental illness and or substance use. And typically, I mean, most everyone has dual diagnosis. They have both. I'm also dual diagnosis, of course. They feed off of each other. But yeah, so they have that, and I failed. I was terminated from that course. So obviously, I mean, sometimes that does not work. So yeah, I've always wondered, how would it be possible to make a better system? Because like I explained, I mean, getting criminal charges already screws you over on finding employments, housing too, because they do a criminal background check. But also just the experience itself. But again, I mean, I'm thankful in a way to have gone to jail, because it was a hard kick in my butt that I really needed. And from that transitioning into here was everything I needed. And being here, of course, is everything I need. And I'm super thankful that I was given another chance, because with Oxford Houses, it's a 30-day, it's required to have 30 days of sobriety, and of course I didn't have that. So with this house, given a second chance, even though I didn't have that requirement. So so I'm very thankful. Thank you to the housing manager and just everyone. The guy from IOP is the one that advocated for me to move here, because he had heard about, I shared with what was happening. One last thing I'll state too, in jail, towards the very end, they did make some pruno. For those that aren't familiar, it's essentially the attempt, and successful, although weak, attempt to make an alcoholic beverage using what they have available. So apparently, I didn't know this, or I don't know if it's just natural mold or yeast. But they would take bread, put that in there, any sort of, they didn't serve fruit juices there. I assume probably because that could be fermented. So they would put in mandarin oranges or whatever else that had some sugar, and then of course some water, and they would run it under the hot water in the shower, to promote and expedite the fermentation process. And then, you know, it would have some amount of alcohol. So that they did that, and I, so stupid, I did take a drink. It was actually pretty decent, but not very strong. So yeah, I thought that was interesting too. So yeah, this video is way long. Thank you for listening. Like I said, I hope everyone has a weekend, and I will try to put out another video sometime soon.